Welcome back. So today is my final day here in Fort Lauderdale, and before I do head back to California, which my flight is actually going to be 5 o'clock, and at the time of this recording, it's actually 11:30 in the morning. I thought I'd get a chance to do the review of the weekend's action, and I do apologize the fact that it's a little bit delayed because I haven't got a lot of time this weekend to actually record a review. I was pretty much busy the entire day yesterday. But let's actually talk about these 13 games that happened on Saturday and Sunday. And oh, by the way, I also just realized there is going to be a game later tonight between LAFC and I believe the Portland Timbers. I might be wrong though, but I'm going to have to find a way to do the review of that game, even though I'll probably miss the first half of that game because depending on whether or not if the flight is going to be delayed, I will be landing around 8 o'clock, and the game, of course, would be starting at 7:30. But let us begin talking about the first game, which is the top of the table clash in the Western Conference between Sporting KC versus the Seattle Sounders, and there was definitely some controversy in this game, and we'll definitely get to that moment in the second half where I never knew WWE sometimes could be kind of being seen in an MLS game too. But in the first half, Sporting KC got off to a good start at the 4th minute as Remy Walter was able to score from Martins to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead before Shelton did puts it hot from long range. And Sporting KC, they were on the front foot early in this game, but ultimately the Sounders did start to come back into this game and gain some position. But that being said, the game kind of started to become a little bit tight, and there was really not a lot of chances between both of these teams. There was a shout for a penalty for the Sounders that was not given, and we had to halftime with Sporting KC leading 1-0 over the Seattle Sounders. Now, in the second half, Seattle was definitely on the front foot early, and then this is where we get to the big talking point of this game, and really the point where if you go on the MLS Reddit page, you're going to see a lot of memes about this. So, basically, Melia decided that, I'm not going to have it to see a player just kind of shove me into the net or basically try to force me back into the net while I'm trying to catch the ball, because I am just going to suplex somebody, because he did exactly that where, first he denied Paulo on a shot and then decided to go full WWE and basically just suplex Rodon to the ground, and he only gets a yellow card on that. Now, I will say this might be an unpopular take, but I think that's the right call. And I know a lot of Sounders fans are going to be angry about this, and there's going to be some hateful comments that says that I got it completely wrong. But the reason why I think maybe this is the right call is because, yes, it was egregious, and what Melia did there is, it was pretty clear that he intentionally didn't. But in some way, when he kind of took him down with kind of like a suplex, it wasn't really. I mean, he kind of took it almost right near here around the neck. Just below the neck area, and any time when I really think of something that is egregious and intentional, sometimes it seems some more egregious thing like a scissor challenge or maybe a studs up challenge, or even where somebody just kind of punch an opponent in the face, and I think that that doesn't seem, at least in my look, I don't think that's as egregious as the thing that I kind of mentioned before, and not to mention the fact that this was kind of below the head, which. Again, I feel like in the end, I think this is deserve a yellow card instead of a red card. Even though I know a lot of Sounders fans and a lot of people are saying that should be an automatic red, because Milan knew what he was doing, and you just cannot put a WWE move on someone even though they trying to kind of annoy you a little bit. But that being said, Melia did kind of get instant karma, because just 3 minutes after that controversial play, he would concede the equalizer for the Sounders, and it's Benezet who scores from Rodon to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Benezet has been in really good form lately for this team, and really maybe have started to kind of get into this conversation of maybe be a starters or even an important role player down the stretch. In the 63rd minute, or actually no, before that, in the 59th minute, Benezet did puts it high despite the fact that he had a free header before Melia was able to rob Christian Rodon from point blank. At Seattle, they were definitely pushing for the second goal, and that in some way they kind of dominate the second half. In the 65th minute, Paulo just missed wide from long range effort, but then in the 79th minute, it's Sporting KC retake the lead, and it's Johnny Russell score from Espinoza to retake the lead for Sporting KC, and that was really completely against the run of play because Seattle was definitely pushing for that second goal, and all of a sudden they find themselves 2-1 down. They had a big opportunity late in this game to tie the game up once again, but the post got in the way as it denied Christian Rodon a late Sounders equalizer, and in the end, the Sounders, or not the Sounders, but Sporting KC, able to escape Lumen's Field for the second time with a win. I mean, it's not often you're able to get all 3 points at Lumen's Field, but to do it twice in a season, that has got to be very impressive. Albeit, I will say the Sounders was kind of a little bit shorthanded coming into this game, and Brian Schmetzer, he did had a couple of his important players like Rui Diaz, Ladero not available in this one, but that being said, no, I don't think Sporting KC would care, and Sporting KC might even argue, well, we also don't have the likes of Polito in this game too, so yeah, there's that counter argument in terms of that. But in terms of shots of this one, 15 shots compared to 8 that Sporting KC had, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that Sporting KC had, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Seattle has, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Sporting KC had, and yeah, the race for the top spot in the West is going to get more interesting now that Sporting KC has closed that gap within 2 points. And again, I really think this is definitely going to go down the stretch, and I won't be surprised on decision day there could be a situation where both of these teams are playing for that top spot. And it's very important to win your own conference, because if you win your conference, you don't have to play in that first round of the playoffs. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Columbus and the Red Bulls, and it is pretty clear that the Red Bulls are now the hottest team in the league. I mean, this team has been in fuego mode ever since they snap out of that bad run that they had against Inter Miami, and really ever since, they just never look back. They look like a team is on a mission to trying to not only make it to the playoffs, but maybe even trying to get home field advantage. Now, in the first half, 7 minutes in, Klimala did hit it high from close range, but then on the very next play, Cáceres Jr. was able to score from Edwards that tied, or to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Guzman then blazed it high on the volley, and the Red Bulls were just all over Columbus early in this game. But then in the 18th minute, Columbus kind of scored against the run of play, and it's Miguel Berry who scored from Maria and Zairian. So Berry continue his incredible form, and a guy that, again, this is a guy that I don't think anybody have heard of before, but he has really stepped up ever since he gets into the lineup for Columbus, and again, he's getting on the score sheet again to tie the game up at 1 apiece. But again, it was completely against the run of play, because the Red Bulls were pretty much dominating in this early part of this game, and they kind of continued to dominate after this too, because Nealis then missed wide from close range before Pedro Santos puts it wide from 10 yards out. Though Cornell did have to deny Etienne late in the first half as we head to the second half, tied at 1 apiece. But then in the second half, this is when the Red Bulls kind of took over. Room denied Klimala after just a WTF turnover from Mensa. I mean, if that went in, that I don't think that should surprise a lot of Columbus fans, because this has been a problem they've been having throughout the entire season, where the defense is just not as strong as last year, and there's just so many games they drop points because of silly defensive mistake, and Mensa is kind of in the center of it. He has made a ton of mistakes this year, and that one almost led to a goal too if it wasn't for Eloy Room making a good save. Then there was a penalty that was given to the Red Bulls after Carmona was brought down by Harrison and Maria in the box. Couldn't speak there for a second, which, that gives the Red Bulls a chance to retake the lead, but Patrick Klimala, who has always been very clinical from the penalty spot, he missed wide from the spot. Yeah, that's definitely one that he definitely do not want to look back, and if he definitely want to look back, that's also going to be one that maybe will keep him awake after this game, because it's not very often. I've seen bad penalties before, but this was probably one of the worst one, where if you cannot even hit the target from 12 yards out for the penalty spot, you might reconsider yourself of being the penalty kick taker. Although, as I said, I think Patrick Klimala is usually reliable from the spot, and that was a very rare situation where I think he was trying to aim the left side of the post, but he just kind of pulls it and puts it wide of the goal. But even with that miss, the Red Bulls continue to be on the front foot and push for the go-ahead goal. Room was able to deny Duncan from long range. Duncan had a couple of decent chances in this game, and he'll be frustrated the fact that he wasn't getting on the score sheet because just 14 minutes later he would be denied again by Rome, this time from the near post. Carmona then blazed it high after going through on goal, and again just continue pressure from the Red Bulls to trying to get that second goal, and ultimately that pressure paid off because in the 87th minute Nilis would score from Klemala and Cáceres Jr. to make it 2-1 in favor of the Red Bulls. So, Klemala kind of maybe redeem himself a little bit being on the assist chart there. I mean, obviously to fully redeem yourself after a penalty kick miss, you have to, of course, score. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be happy the fact that he got an assist there to kind of make up for his bad penalty miss earlier in this game. But most importantly, that gives the lead for the Red Bulls in this game. Columbus did try to push late. BWP puts it wide from close range, but in the end, the Red Bulls grab a huge 2-1 lead in this playoff six-pointer in the Eastern Conference and have now officially gone above the red line for the first time since early this season. Shots in this game, only 6 shots compared to 17 that the Red Bulls had. 2 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Red Bulls had. 9 shots off target compared to 2 that the Columbus had. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Red Bulls had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Red Bulls had in this game. It was a perfect road game for the Red Bulls in this one, but for Columbus, yeah, their playoff chances is definitely slipping, and this is definitely a huge blow to their playoff hope. Consider they're playing against a team that they're fighting for playoffs, and the fact that they lose to them, not just that, but also lose to them at home, yeah, it's definitely going to stay, and they're going to have to hope to maybe now win out and hope for other teams to help them out if they want to make it to the playoffs. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and that, of course, is NYCFC versus DC United. So far, in terms of this week, we saw a lot of close games that was throughout this week, which is unexpected. Or, well, I wouldn't say unexpected. I don't know why I said unexpected, but it was kind of expected because as we get closer to decision day and final game of the season, things are going to be very tight, and there's going to be teams that are going to be really playing for their lives, of whether making it to the playoffs or if they're already in the playoffs, they're trying to play for seeding. This was not one of those. And in fact, this was actually one of 2 games that was kind of really lopsided. And in this one, I mean, I talked about in the last review that, with NYCFC finally getting that equalizer, or finally breaking that goal drought by getting the equalizer against Atlanta, maybe they can finally start to score some goals because, when you endure a goal drought, especially as a team, it only takes one for you to start to get going. But even that, I didn't think they were going to put 6 goals past DC United in this game. And their barrage started very quickly because just 1 minute into this game, Thiago, he would score for Amundsen and Rodriguez to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Before, just 6 minutes later, Castellanos would score to make it 2-0 in favor of NYCFC. Yeah, this was an absolute howler from Hamid, which, in some way he definitely needs to save this one. And even though Hamid, of course, makes some good save, and in some way I will say that Hamid was kind of the reason why this didn't even get more ugly. Like, with the way how NYCFC was pushing in this game, this looked like it was going to be 7-8 or even 9-0 with the way how it is if it wasn't for Hamid making some big save. But, obviously when you're a goalkeeper and you make a mistake in a game, everybody's going to remember that rather than some of the amazing save that Hamid made throughout this one. There was also a Dele out banner in the crowd, which, yeah, I think that was probably the wrong time to bring that banner out. And I think somebody on the Reddit page even jokingly said, yeah, maybe that guy that brought the Dele out banner, he probably might be rolling up that banner after his team had a 6-0 victory. Although, that being said, I also heard some NYCFC fans saying that, yes, they won this game, but they still think Ronnie Dele is not doing a good job to this team, which, okay, I guess, with this team, regular season really doesn't matter. It's all about the playoff time. And again, even with this victory, I will say that there is some cases that maybe this team might not go as deep as people thought, but this was definitely one of the best performances that they had this season. Because then 11 minutes later, Castellanos basically scores to make it 3-0 in favor of NYCFC. I basically wrote down Steven Bourbon basically did his best Steven Gerrard impression because he basically slipped in the middle of the park, just like when Steven Gerrard slipped and allowed Demba Ba going through on goal. I can't believe that's been what 8 years ago. But yeah, this was basically Bourbon basically slipped on the vital moment, allow Castellanos went through on goal, and once Castellanos went through on goal, even though sometimes Tati Castellanos hasn't been really that consistent in terms of putting the ball into the back of it, even when he's go through on goal, this time he makes no mistake, makes it 3-0 in favor of NYCFC, and I basically wrote this could get really ugly for DC United. But in the 21st minute, Johnson was able to deny Kamara, who after originally spilling the ball coming into the box. Like, he kind of bobbled that one when the ball was coming in, but he kind of redeemed himself by making a save on Ola Kamara. Before in the 44th minute, it would be 4-0 in favor of NYCFC as Maxi Morales would basically make it 4-0. Originally, Hamid denied what would be a goal of the week contention from Tati Castellanos, but Morales was there to clean up on the rebound. And yeah, that would be the score heading into halftime. 4-0 against NYCFC. Like, when I checked this game on my phone while I was going to watch the Hurricanes versus NC State game, I couldn't believe my eyes. The fact that the NYCFC were up 4-0 at home. Consider you would be mistaken the fact that this team actually have not scored a single goal for about 400 minutes before they finally break that drought against Atlanta United. Now, in the second half, Thiago did blaze it high from close range before Hamid did deny Callens on the very next sequence. And you can see NYCFC, they were showing no mercy to DC United. They want more goals, and they did get more goals in the 52nd minute as Callens would get on the score sheet for the first time this season from Amundsen to make it 5-0 in favor of NYCFC. Though on the other end, DC did almost got one back as Johnson absolutely robbed Odell Ashton from point-blank range. But then on the other end, Hamid would rob Aber, who was going through on goal there. And, for Aber, it's been a tough recovery for him ever since he's torn his ACL, and so far he's still looking to try to finally get that goal, and I really hope eventually he does break it out, because I really feel for him before he tore that ACL, where he was probably one of the most cursed number 9 in this league, and it seems like he still hasn't found that form that he was when he came to NYCFC in the first season. Now, on the other end, Skunrich actually struck the post, and I thought the game really started to become very open, which, even for a 5-0 game, it's not a big surprise that this is the case, because this is the thing about Hernan Losada. He's going to die by the sword in terms of just going for an on-goal, and even if his team is down 5-0, he's not going to back down. He's going to try to go for more goal, but that being said, it also let so much space for NYCFC to operate. In the 74th minute, they would make it 6-0 and would actually break the record for the most goal they've ever scored in franchise history, and it's Medina, the one that gets the honor from Gray to make it 6-0 in favor of NYCFC. Hamid then denied Rodriguez that almost made it 7-0 before Talis Magno tried to stab it into the back post but could not do so. Hamid then denied Aber from close range at the 87th minute, and then Hamid would once again deny Medina from close range at the 89th minute. So yeah, NYCFC, they were trying to pour it on and kind of just running up the score, but in the end they still break their franchise record of scoring 6 goals as they won 6-0 against DC United in an absolute massacre that we saw at Yankee Stadium. I mean, the shots in this game, 21 shots compared to 8 that DC had, but 15 shots on goal compared to 3 that DC had. That has to be the most shots on goal I've seen a team so far this season. It just shows you how clinical NYCFC was to basically force Hamid some saves in this game. 5 shots off target for the 4 that DC had. 1 shot that was blocked for both of these teams, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession, and an absolute demolition that we saw in this game. And for DC, as much as, they were also kind of missing guys in this game, and it's easy to say that, after a big defeat, it's just one game. We're now at the latter part of this stage, and them now finding themselves below the red line again, it's kind of hard to just say that it's just one game and that, maybe we can bounce back in the next one. I mean, in some way, I feel like maybe that should be the mindset because, you want to make sure you move on into the next game and hope you can win the next one to get themselves above the red line. But yeah, this was a very ugly performance by DC, and this is also the reason why sometimes I said that I feel like Hernan Losada. I know he dies by the sword or live and die by the sword in terms of the pressing system that he has. But sometimes when you're down 5-0 or when the games kind of start to get out of hand, maybe you need to think about a plan B. And this is also kind of the reason why I started to compare Hernan Losada to Mateus Almeida, because one of the things that I always find frustrated about Almeida is that he live and die by the sword of the man marking system. And when it works well, it's a treat to watch. But when it doesn't work well, it can get really ugly, and this is kind of the same thing with Losada. Only this time, he basically is live and die by the incredible press that he always put for this team. But moving on now to the next match is going to be Philly versus Nashville in the battle for second place in the Eastern Conference, and in the end, the Union just did enough to get a 1-0 win against Nashville SC. Early on, Shibilko took a swing and a miss in the box in the 9th minute, but there was really not much that happened in the first 15 minutes of this game until in the 17th minute, the Union got a penalty. After Taylor Washington basically handballed that one in the box, there was no doubt that was a handball and a penalty, which Shibilko was able to step up, and as always, him being very clinical in the spot, he buries this one to give Philly a 1-0 lead and turns out to be the winning goal of this game. Now, the Union, they continue to be on the front foot and had a couple of half chances, but overall, it wasn't really the most exciting first half in this game. In fact, throughout this game, it wasn't really the most entertaining game to watch, but we do head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. Now, in the second half, Sapon puts it over the board after just a WTF turnover from the Union. I mean, this is the thing we saw in the last game against Minnesota, where their defense was definitely in that sequence was definitely not up to the task. But there was no doubt that Nashville was having the possession and they were trying to press for the equalizer. Leao had a chance to do so, but he puts it wide from long range. And as the time kind of winds down, Nashville continued to push for the equalizer. But then Philly had a chance to bury this game away, and for Shibilko, he's definitely going to be thinking about this one, because as he went through on goal, it looks like he had a chance to kill this game off, but Joe Willis with a big save to rob him there as he went one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Then late in the game, Shibilko had another opportunity, but he puts that one over the bar. But in the end, the Union was able to win 1-0 against Nashville FC, and the shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 8 that Nashville has, 4 shots on goal compared to 1 that Nashville has. Oh, boy, excuse me on that. I got a little bit of a running nose there. 4 shots off target compared to 3 that Nashville has. 6 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams, as Nashville only suffering their 4th loss of the season. But, that's now 6 games without a win for this team. And I understand that this is a game where, again, they were without some of their best player, and especially they do not have Hani Mukhtar because he was suspended in this game, but there's got to be some concern if you're a Nashville fan, knowing the fact that this winless run is continue, and even though they are still in a good spot to host a playoff game, you cannot go into the playoffs this cold and expect it to do much. And it's hard to believe, because this was supposed to be a team that I think a couple of weeks ago, when they were in that good run, I thought this team was going to do well and really challenge New England for the playoff, or not the playoff position, but potentially winning the Eastern Conference and represent the Eastern Conference in MLS Cup. But lately it feels like Nashville, the goals have kind of started to draw it up a little bit, and they're starting to kind of have that same issue they had last year, where they just really cannot able to find a player to score the goals. Although this season, they definitely find it with Hani Mukhtar and in some extent CJ Sapon. Although Sapon has really started to be gone on a bit of a drought after that incredible run that he has in the summer. But again, Hani Mukhtar wasn't available in this game, and it was not surprised that Nashville wasn't able to get all 3 points in this one. Speaking of a team that wasn't able to get 3 points and that they were desperate need to do so, is Montreal against TFC in the Canadian Classique. And for Montreal, if they're going to miss the playoffs, this is the game they're going to look back as the one is the reason why they missed the playoffs, because they clearly should have won this game against TFC. But early on, Brogiards hits the side netting in the 4th minute before Ibrahim fires it wide from close range. Osorio then puts it high from long range before Pentimus was able to deny Schaffelberg. And, after kind of a slow start in this game where after a slow start for TFC in this game, where I thought Montreal were by far the better team in the first 15 minutes, TFC was starting to get into this game and look for the opening goal. Schaffelberg hits it wide from close range before Pentimus was able to deny Mullins on the free kick. But despite all these chances, we had scoreless heading into the second half of the Canadian Classique. But in the second half, we would no longer be scoreless in the 55th minute, because Montreal would take the 1-0 lead, and it's Ibrahim, the player that gives Montreal a 1-0 lead. I thought he had a good game in this one, and definitely repaying Wilfred Nancy's faith of starting him in this one. Things did kind of get testy with some pushing and shoving that is going on, which, just a reminder that this is the Canadian Classic, and both of these teams do not like each other whatsoever. But in the 70th minute, Pentimus absolutely robbed Josie Altidore, who had a free header there in the box. And yeah, Altidore, if it wasn't for that late goal that he scored, he's definitely going to think about that one, because that was a glorious chance that he had there. But there was no doubt that TFC was trying to push for the equalizer. But that being said, in the 75th minute, Mihailovic had a big opportunity to try to kill the game off, but he puts that one wide. But there on the other end, Pentimus was able to deny Oro from close range before Altidore puts a shot high from close range. And then in the 90th minute, Bjorn Johnson, he should have scored here. Like, he was all alone in the box from close range, but he missed that one wide, and that miss, what turns out to really haunt Montreal and potentially haunt Bjorn Johnson for the rest of this game, because in the 5th minute, TFC would get the late equalizer, and it's Josie Altidore, the one that ties the game up at 1 apiece. And for me, for Pentimus, I feel like he probably should have saved that one. I mean, it was kind of a low driven shot from Altidore. It was aiming to that right side of the post, but I feel like Pentimus kind of react a little bit late in that sequence. And as much as Pentimus had a good game in this one, that was not a good moment for him. And the fact that, again, I feel like he should have saved that one there. But in the end, TFC wouldn't care, and the same goes with Josie Altidore, who he even kind of did a celebration where he kind of just like folding his or putting his arms up and kind of almost just showcase that, I just basically took a big blow to your playoff chances. And that, of course, is the case with the one that Montreal dropping points in this game and find themselves now below the red line. As the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 7 that Montreal has, 9 shots on goal compared to 1 that Montreal has, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that Montreal has, 0 shots compared to 2 that Montreal, or 0 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Montreal has. And possession-wise, TFC had the better possession, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Montreal has in this game. But like I said, for Montreal, they had the chances to kill this game off, and especially late in the game. If Bjorn Johnson would have put that game away, we probably wouldn't be talking about here of the fact that they didn't get all 3 points. And like I said, they find themselves below the red line once again, and they need to once again rely on some help to try to get themselves above the red line. But now, moving on into the last game on this board, and that, of course, is Chicago versus RSL. So speaking of a bit of a blow in terms of the playoff chances, RSL, that they definitely took a bit of a blow in this one, as they walked into Soldier Field hoping to get all 3 points, and they did not get that. They lost 1-0 in this game against the Chicago Fire, and in some way they kind of really came out flat in this one, because the Fire, they really did well in this game, and in some way they probably should have scored more than 1 goal if they were a little bit more clinical in this game. Now in the first half, one thing I want to mention is that there was 30,000 fans attending this game. I believe this is kind of like a fan appreciation game for the Chicago Fire, so that's why there was a lot of Fire fans attending this one. But it's always great to see that Soldier Field, while it wasn't really completely filled up, I mean, you still saw some empty seats. That was probably the most full I've seen Soldier Field this season, and they even mentioned that is the most fans that the Fire has had at Soldier Field in over a decade. And hopefully with this team starting to get a little bit better, we might see a big crowd like that again because, this season for the Fire, even though they decided to move back to Soldier Field, I think it's pretty clear that, that the whole problem with them playing at Bridgeville and how people say that, maybe the attendance is down because of the fact that Bridgeville is so far away from Chicago and it's a really pain to try to get to there. Well, maybe that might not be the case because if you see some of the attendance numbers this season at Soldier Field, it is not very good, and I think it's clear to say that maybe the attendance wasn't because of the fact that it was the Fire fans have to make a long drive there, and maybe it's just the performance-wise that affect the attendance for this team. Now, in the first minute, Berry puts it high from long range as the Fire almost scored the opening goal inside the first minute. Aliseda then skies it over the bar from 5 yards out before Madron puts it wide from long range, and I thought the Fire, they were definitely pushing early to try to get the lead. Ochoa did deny Berry after just a bad turnover from RSL before Berry's shot took a bit of a deflection, but it goes wide. But then finally in the 45th minute, which, Berry, I thought he had a good game in this one, and he was definitely deserved to go up to that point. He would eventually score in the 45th minute as he scored from Navarro and Pineda to make it 1-0 in favor of the Fire, and that would be the halftime score heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Jimenez puts it high from long range before Herbert puts it high from 17 yards out, and once again, the Fire was on the front foot early and looking to try to kill this game off. Though in the 50th minute, Krylak had a rare chance for RSL, but he puts that one wide. In fact, I think that was the first chance that RSL has had because in the first half, it was all Chicago in this game. Then in the 59th minute, probably the best chance RSL had when Selania was able to rob Chant, who had a point-blank effort. I'll tell you what, Gaga Selena is starting to really become a decent goalkeeper in MLS, and it's hard to believe he's only 17 years old right now, and with the potential that he of course have, and he's already shown that he could make some big save in games. The ceiling is definitely going to be very high for this kid, and I'm very interested to see whether or not if he continued this performance, that maybe we can talk about another player that could be on the U.S. men's national team radar with the performance that he's been putting in this season for the Fire. Then Solania did deny Ruiz in the 63rd minute. RSL was started to push for the equalizer at that point and finally started to wake up. But then on the other end, Ochoa was able to deny Madron from 24 yards out before Madron puts it high from the free kick. Madron, I thought, had another good game, and he was kind of unlucky to not get a goal in this one. Then I kind of wrote, there was kind of a sense that there was a goal coming into this game because there was a lot of chances up to this point. Ochoa then denied Gutierrez in the 81st minute before he would deny Chinoso 0-4 from 20 yards out. Espinoza had a chance late in this game too, but he heads it wide from close range before Julio hits one straight to Selenia before Chinoso 0-4 had the last chance of this game as he struck the post after he went through on goal there. But despite the fact that Chicago didn't really show their clinical finish in this game, they still were able to walk away with a 1-0 victory over RSL, and just shows you how many chances that Chicago has in this game. They had 25 shots compared to 16 that RSL had, 10 shots on goal compared to 5 that RSL has, 11 shots off target compared to 7 that RSL has. Both teams had 4 shots on block, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Chicago Fires has in this game. And like I said, for RSL, this is definitely a bit of a blow in terms of their playoff chances, and even though they do have that game in hand and they can still get themselves above the red line because teams above them weren't able to capitalize on them slipping up in this one, they need to of course win that game in hand, and knowing the fact that I think they still have a couple of games, I think they still have like one more game on the road, and knowing how much RSL have struggled on the road this season, it's not a guarantee. The fact that even with that game in hand and even with them being in the driver's seat, that they could still get themselves back above the red line and make it to the playoffs this season. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 6 games that happened in terms of the weekend's action. So I'm not sure if you guys realized early, but I am actually kind of having a little bit of a cold right now, which that is definitely not a great recipe when I'm about to fly back home, because when you have a cold, they might think I might have COVID, and especially I did cough a little bit. Yeah, this is gonna be a risky one, and like I said, hopefully I'm going to get a little bit better by the afternoon, because the last thing I want is to basically kind of have a cold and start coughing on the plane, and then people will think that I basically have COVID. But that being said, let us move on into the next game, which is the other game that kind of was very one-sided between Inter Miami versus FC Cincinnati. And for Cincinnati, yeah, they're pretty much just playing out the strings right now, and just you can clearly tell this team pretty much have checked out in the last couple of games, and in this one, it kind of just shows that they just kind of got demolished by Miami, especially in the second half. And in the first half, just 5 minutes in, so just like the other game, it was a goal barrage between NYCFC versus DC United. This one, a goal barrage, all started in the 5th minute with Federico Higuain scoring for the second game in a row, and this time scoring from Pizarro and Gonzalo Higuain. Now, this time was actually not a goalkeeping howler like the one that he was able to capitalize back on Wednesday, but nevertheless, there was a question whether or not if Pizarro was in an offside position. They said it wasn't, so the goal of course stands and give Miami a 1-0 lead. Though Marsman was able to deny Acosta, but did allow a bit of a rebound, which Cincy could not capitalize. I noticed tonight that Nick Marsman, or well, actually not tonight, but when this game was happening, that Nick Marsman, he does at times allow some juicy rebound in the box. And although he didn't get punished in this game, that's something that's kind of worthy of a note, because you cannot be a goalkeeper that allowed these juicy rebounds for opposition to basically be trying to capitalize. And he's kind of very lucky that no Cincinnati player was able to kind of capitalize on those juicy rebounds. But in the 60th minute, Gonzalo Higuain hits a week one hopper from 12 yards out. I thought this was probably the best game that Gonzalo Higuain has, even though he only had one goal in this one, but he did kind of have 3 assists in this one. But in the 20th minute, Cincinnati actually equalized, and it's Brendan Vasquez scoring from Zico Bailey and Harris Madunia to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I think Brendan Vasquez is probably the lone bright side for Cincinnati this season. I mean, ever since he's come back into the lineup and come back from an injury, he has really performed for this team. Bailey then puts it straight to Marsman before Medunian kind of puts it wide. And, Cincinnati, I said earlier that they kind of just got blown away. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but they kind of really got blown away in the second half, because this was kind of a game in the first half where Cincinnati has the momentum and looked for the lead. But there was a shout for a handball for Cincinnati that was not given in the 30th minute before McCoon just heads it wide from 10 yards out as he looking to try to score for the second game in a row. Marsman then denied Bailey from close range before Pizarro puts it wide from long range in the 38th minute. Lots of chances for both teams in the first half, but we head to the second half, tie at 1 apiece. But heading into the second half, we wouldn't be tied for very long, because in the 53rd minute, Gonzalo Higuain, he would score from Federico Higuain to give the lead back for Miami. Oh, also Leerdam got the secondary assist. But anytime when the Higuain brothers kind of combine, it's always great to see there. Then Gonzalo Higuain tried to go for his second, but he just missed high. Marsman then had to deny Barriel in the 60th minute, but then on the other end, Titan had to deny Higuain as he went through on goal there, and that's Gonzalo Higuain. That's the one that went through on goal. But in the 68th minute, Miami would make it 3-1, and it's Vasilev that scored from Pizarro and Gregor, and yeah, that's one that I think Titan would want to have back, because Vasilev, yes, he did hit this one well in the near post, and it was a great solo effort that he had in this. But you think that Titan, especially anytime when a goalkeeper gets beat in the near post, I always feel like the goalkeeper probably save it, because that's kind of your job. You need to, of course, cover that front post, and the fact that he wasn't able to do so, that is Shimislav Titan. Yeah, that's one that I think he definitely needs to save. And again, it's just another poor game for Titan in this one. Though I will say that maybe that was kind of like the only one he probably should have saved, because the rest of the ones he was once again getting hung out to dry by this very poor Cincinnati defense. Gonzalo Higuain then missed an absolute sitter in the 70th minute, but his teammate made up for it in the 74th minute as Lewis Morgan, who hasn't scored in a very long time, and he looked like he scored in the last game, but of course that was credit to be an own goal. Well, this time he would score here from Gonzalo Higuain and Chapman to make it 4-1 in favor of Miami. It looked like he got his second goal, and it looked like it was 5-1 Miami as he put the ball into the back of net, but the goal was disallowed because there was a foul in the box. But ultimately, it was 5-1 in favor of Inter Miami as Carranza, another guy that hasn't scored in a very long time and a guy that hasn't got a lot of minutes and has been struggling in forms. But he scored here from Gonzalo Higuain and Pizarro to make it 5-1 in favor of Inter Miami. There was also a red card late in this game. I forgot who exactly, of course, got sent off for or not for Inter Miami, but for FC Cincinnati. But you can definitely tell that was kind of a frustration that Cincinnati has, and you can just tell that these players, they kind of checked out, especially how things got in the second half, where once Miami started scoring goals, it was just the floodgates kind of open, and they were able to put five past Cincinnati in this game, and also have scored, able to break their franchise record of the most goal that they scored ever in their history in MLS. Shots in this one, both teams had 15 shots, 6 shots on goal for the 8 that Cincinnati has, 6 shots off target for the 3 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that FC Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And for Miami, their playoff hope is still alive, though, again, these next couple of games is going to be much tougher for them, because I think the next game they will play against Atlanta United on the road. That's going to be really tough if they want to keep their playoff hope alive, and then they got NYCFC and New England on the road on the very last day. So yeah, while they have looked good in these last 2 games, you got to remember they were playing against 2 of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, and we'll see whether or not if they are still going to be potentially in playoff contention when they do play against Atlanta United, a team that also are desperate to try to get all 3 points so that they can make it to the playoffs. Speaking of a team that is desperate to get 3 points, is Minnesota. So this was another one of those games where for the Loons, they should have got 3 points, but because of the fact that this team, this has been the story of this season, they have problem in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net and do not do well in terms of their finishing. That's why they weren't able to get all 3 points. Although I will say that I think Blackman in this game probably have one of his better performance, and in some way he really kind of was the reason why Minnesota wasn't able to get all 3 points, besides the bad finishing that the Loons once again show in this one. Early on, Blackman was able to deny Lod from the front post 4 minutes in before he denied Reynoso from long range in the 7th minute. It was all Minnesota early in this game. In fact, it was all Minnesota pretty much for the first 30 minutes, because in the 9th minute, I thought Boxo, he should have scored in the box as he missed an absolute free header in the box. He won't be the only Loons player that I feel like should have scored in this game. Hunu then missed wide from close range in the 11th minute before Blackman was able to deny Lud after he went through on goal. The shots was 9-0 at the half-hour mark in favor of Minnesota. So, they were absolutely dominating in terms of the shot, but just nothing to show for it because Blackman was on his game, and also so the Minnesota was just not being very clinical in terms of their finishing. And you know how when you're not being very clinical in terms of finishing, it's going to come back to haunt you? Yeah, it haunt Minnesota, and the worst case scenario happened in the 33rd minute when LAFC, on their first shot on goal, they scored to take the lead in this game, and it's Chicho Arango who continue to be in a red hot form, and a guy that I really think not only maybe is the front runner of, well, I wouldn't say maybe, but is definitely the front runner of being the newcomer of the year, but a guy that maybe you could say that he could consider MVP voting. Although I think maybe the reason why that's not the case is he's only been in the league for like 2 months now, but the fact that he has just made such a big impact to this LAFC team, and I even mentioned in the last video, LAFC might have found their future number 9 with the way that he's basically averaging like a goal every single game. Though that being said, this one, coming from the free kick, yeah, this is one that Tyler Miller clearly should have saved this one. And I guess maybe being a former Seattle Sounders goalkeeper, you're always going to have at least one goalkeeping howler that happened in a season. I mean, it's the case with Stephen Fry. He always had to have a howler at least once every season, and the same goes with Stephen Cleveland. And I guess that was kind of the moment where, Miller, he was trying to catch that one, and it just kind of went through his arm and into the back of the net. But like I said, that was kind of the worst case scenario, because despite Minnesota was all over LAFC, they were down 1-0 in this game, and in the latter part of extra time, who knew? Again, another player that should have scored here, as he missed an absolute free header from 4 yards out. And although Adrien Hunou has definitely done much better in the last couple of games, his finishing is still not up to the point where it was worth the amount that we paid him during the summer transfer window. And then in the latter part of this game, LAFC actually almost made it 2-0, and Miller did, of course, make up for that howler that he made earlier by absolutely robbing Aringo from point blank range. Like, Aringo basically just hits this one from 4 yards out, and Miller just completely stonewall him. And yeah, despite the fact that Minnesota was dominant in the first half, they could have easily went down 2-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, LAFC was definitely on the front foot early. Rodriguez hits one straight to Miller. Before, in the 64th minute, after just continued pressure for Minnesota to tie the game up, they finally did so. And it's Ozzy Alonso, who of course scored the last time the Loons play LAFC at Allianz Field, as he scored here to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And I talked about how Blackman, of course, he had a good game. This, I think, was the only point where, yeah, it was not really a great moment for him, because, he kind of allowed a big rebound there on a shot that I think he should have easily parried that one away, and Alonso basically capitalized on that to put the ball into the back of net to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And you just kind of had a feeling with that tying goal, Minnesota might have a chance to get the second. Le puts it high from long range in the 68th minute before he heads it wide from 12 yards out. I thought Robin Lod had another good game, but again, just like many of these Minnesota players, he just were one of those many players that just could not find those clinical finishing. Minnesota, of course, was having the momentum and looked for a winner. Blackman absolutely robbed Fragapane from close range in the 76th minute. Before, in the 77th minute, Blackman basically missed the punch, but Tristan Blackman was able to just clear that one off the line. And despite the fact that Minnesota pushed late to try to get that second goal, they weren't able to do so. As in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. 18 shots compared to 6 that LAFC had. 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that LAFC had. 8 shots off target compared to 1 that LAFC had. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that LAFC had. And possession-wise, 70% possession compared to 30% possession that LAFC has in this game. And, I think the only good news for Minnesota coming out of this game is that at least they're still in 6th place, despite the fact that they dropped points. But that being said, they miss a huge opportunity to get into 4th spot, and especially with the way that they dominate in this game. Because moving on into the next match on this board is Colorado and the Portland Timbers. And if you're a Timbers fan, there has to be some concern, because yeah, these last couple of games have not gone well for this side. And albeit, yes, they didn't start the strongest lineup in this game against the Colorado Rapids. When you're about to head to the playoffs and you have lost three in a row and are opening the door for other teams to trying to get your crucial 4th spot, which is the final playoff spot, to at least host a game in the playoffs, yeah, that is definitely not a good sign. And I think if you're the Rapids, even though I know they were playing against a struggling Portland side, this was a win that they desperately needed, and in some ways a win that you could maybe say it's kind of a statement win, that they finally beat a team that they could be potentially facing in the playoffs. Now, early on, it looked like they got a 1-0 lead in the 6th minute when Marc-Anthony Kaye was able to put the ball into the back of net, but the goal was disallowed for offside. Once again, not much happening in the first 23 minutes of a Rapids home game, as it was kind of slow in this one, just like the last one that the Rapids play at home. Trusty tried to stab it in the 25th minute, but missed high before Mora hits it straight to Yarbrough, as that was really the Timbers' first shot on goal, and it happened in the first minute of stoppage time in the first half. But then on the very next sequence, the Rapids would take the lead, and it's Baji that scored from Galvan to make it 1-0 in favor of the Rapids. So again, Baji continue his redemption arc, scoring crucial goal for this Rapids team, and they would take that lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Mora had another chance, this one to try to get the equalizer for the Timbers, but he hits it straight to Yarbrough. The Timbers was definitely on the front foot early. Yarbrough was able to deny Valeri from close range before Danny Wilson had a chance in the 52nd minute, but he hits it wide from a close range. But then in the 62nd minute, Colorado doubled their lead, and it's Diego Rubio that scored from Galvan to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids. Not a good goal to give up for Steve Clark. Like this one, I just feel like, he did get a hand to it, but it's just one that, it kind of hits straight toward him with not a lot of power. And, with how good Steve Clark has been for the Timbers in these last couple of seasons, I expect he should have saved that one. But nevertheless, the Rapids were up 2-0 at that point. It almost was 3-0 in the 68th minute if it wasn't for the post denying Rubio his second goal and the Rapids their third. Clark then denied Bassett, and then on the follow-up, Barrios did hits it straight to Clark. The Rapids was definitely pushing for that third goal to continue to try to make this a bit ugly, but in the end, they were able to win 2-0 against the Portland Timbers. And the shots in this one, 14 shots for the 8 that the Timbers had, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that the Timbers had, 5 shots that's off target for the 2 that the Timbers had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Portland has. And possession-wise, Portland has more of the possession, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. And also with this victory, the Rapids have officially secured a playoff spot. And I only know this because I remember that they mentioned it, that they of course clinched playoff position. Again, I didn't actually look on the league website in terms of who of course clinch and who eliminates, but I think it's pretty clear that some of those top teams in the league have already clinched their playoff position since they're so far above the red line right now. And that's the case for the Rapids, going to the playoffs for the first time since I believe 2016 was the last time that they make it to the playoffs. Or actually, no, I take that back. I just forgot that they made the playoffs last year. But, going to the playoffs for the second consecutive time, I think that's the first time that has happened in a long time, and they definitely deserve it because it's been an incredible season that the Rapids has had. And you got to also give a lot of credit to Robin Fraser, who I thought when he was first hired by the Rapids, it was a really good hire, and it's definitely showing out that he has done a very good job with this team. But like I said, for the Portland Timbers, there's got to be some concern. And, is this maybe just a case that they kind of peak a little bit too early because, they had that incredible run just a couple of weeks ago. But ever since they lost their first game after their incredible run, things have turned for the worse for this Timbers team. And if they don't get their things sorted out, they're going to be heading into the playoffs as one of those teams that is heading cold. And you definitely do not want to head into the playoffs as a team that is ice cold. But now moving on into the next game. So another team, besides I talked about earlier that Minnesota missed a chance to get 4th spot away from the Timbers, is the LA Galaxy. Now, this is kind of a tough one to kind of judge if you're a Galaxy fan, because on one hand, they did come back from a 2-0 deficit against FC Dallas at home, but on the other hand, they shouldn't be down 2-0 against FC Dallas. And the fact that this looked like it was almost an embarrassing loss again for the Galaxy, just to show that maybe, this is maybe the reason why this team, if they even get to the playoffs, maybe they're not going to be considered an MLS Cup contender. But in the 11th minute, Alvarez was able to put it over the bar before Rivalison puts it over the bar again, this time from a 30-yard free kick. Bond then denied Ferreira in the 22nd minute before Rivalson missed high from long range. And, this game kind of got off to a bit of a slow start, but the game kind of really started to come alive with some of the chances that I mentioned. But in the 30th minute, Dallas would take the lead, and it's Ferreira that scored from Hara and Cerello to make it 1-0 in favor of FC Dallas. It was almost 1-1 as the Galaxy almost respond instantly in the 37th minute, but Jimmy Maurer was able to rob Alvarez as he went through one goal. And then in the 42nd minute, Jesus Ferreira would score again, as he scored here from Hara and Cerello again to make it 2-0 in favor of Dallas. And yeah, when I saw the scoreline heading into halftime, I was kind of a little bit surprised because, I know Dallas was trying to play maybe spoilers in this game, knowing the fact that they've already been eliminated. But, I definitely didn't think the Galaxy was going to come out flat in this one. And knowing the fact that they have a chance to get fourth position, knowing the fact that they realize the Timbers have lost. I was expecting they would come out very strong and that this should be a win for them. Now, in the second half, Grandsir did hit it in the side netting in the 51st minute before Maurer was able to deny Grandsir, and whatever Greg Vanny said to his team at halftime, it definitely fired up his team because the Galaxy was definitely pushing to try to get one back. Bond did deny Palmico in the 59th minute before Ferreira did hit it straight to Bond in the 61st minute, but then in the 63rd minute, the Galaxy have a lifeline, as it was a penalty that was given after Jesus Ferreira handballed it in the box, which Chicharito was able to capitalize on that to able to start at home from the penalty spot to give the Galaxy some life in this game. Then Chicharito almost made it 2-2 as he had a header that was clear off the line by by FC Dallas. But then in the 75th minute, he thought he scored the equalizer there, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside in the 75th minute before Jovic had a chance in the 76th minutes, but he skies it high from close range. And then in the 80th minute, Revolson missed wide from the free kick, and you can definitely see that the Galaxy was really pushing to try to get that equalizer because they cannot afford to lose this game against FC Dallas, especially with the fixture that they have in these next couple of games. And they were able to finally get into level pegging in the 83rd minute as Sebastian Lletget would score from Grandsir to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Then there was a chance that they could have been up a man when a red card was shown for Tomasi there, but unfortunately when they go to VAR to see whether or not it deemed a straight red, it wasn't. They reduced that to a yellow card, and I really don't know what actually happened during that sequence. The condensed highlights that I watched didn't really show much. I guess my only guess is maybe Tomasi did something to Chicharito, and I think Chicharito was kind of trying to sell it a little bit, trying to draw the red card, which originally it worked, but when they go to VAR, that's when they kind of reverse the call and realize that Chicharito kind of did some shit house reach to try to send a player off, and that's why it shouldn't be a red card. And that's also kind of rare to see because we've seen before where players tried to send an opponent off by kind of maybe make a meal out of it. They were able to do so, but in this sequence, that's just not the case. Now, in the 6 minute stoppage time, there was actually a streaker that kind of came out of the pitch. This game actually got really heated late in this one, and I guess it's only fit to say that this game makes it a little bit more interesting with a streaker coming onto the pitch. Tomasi then had a late chance in the 7 minute of stoppage time, but he heads one straight to Bond. But in the end, it finished all tied up at 2 apiece as the shots in this game dead even at 12 shots. 6 shots on goal for the 8 that FC Dallas had, 6 shots off target for the 1 that Dallas had, no shots on was blocked for the 3 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that FC Dallas has in this game. And like I said, if you're a Galaxy fan, I don't know how you feel about this game. I mean, on one hand, yes, they came back from 2-0 deficit to rescue themselves a point, but on the other hand, they miss a big opportunity to get 4th place. And when you're playing against a Dallas team that's already eliminated, and especially you're playing at home, you need to get that 3 points, especially with the way that in their next couple of games, I think they play against Seattle and Sporting KC. Those are a really tough team that they're going to have to face in these next couple of games if they want to stay above the red line, which is not a guarantee because that race in for those playoff position in the West is still relatively tight. But now moving on in terms of the next match is the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Vancouver Whitecaps in a game that I was really hoping that, my trick of how I don't go to Quakes games and how they were able to get a win. Well, that trick finally came to an end in this one against the Vancouver Whitecaps. And in some way, even though I know the Quakes haven't been eliminated after this game, it's pretty much done. Like, I don't think the Quakes are going to make the playoffs with the way that they need to make up a 7-point gap in just 3 games. And they needed a win in this one, and they definitely pushed late to try to get a victory, but they weren't able to do so at the end of this game. Now, they had a chance very quickly into this game as in the third minute, Crepeau absolutely robbed Ebobisse, who basically had a free header, and Ebobisse is definitely going to be thinking about that later tonight. The Quakes were definitely on the front foot early, but they weren't really creating a lot of chances because they were just having some issue in the final third. Sound familiar? Because that's been kind of also an issue that the Quakes have been having this season, especially ever since Almeida basically stopped using the man marking system. Now, Trophies did blast it high from close range in the 19th minute before Crepeau actually spilled a cross there, but the Quakes weren't able to take advantage of it, and we had to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. By the way, this also was the game where they're commemorating the 20th anniversary of the Quakes winning their first MLS Cup, and they were also giving out a replica ring of the 2001 MLS Cup that the Quakes, of course, won. And I think that maybe is the only regret why I didn't attend this game, because that ring looked really, really good. And they also kind of had Joe Cannon during the second half in the broadcast, and it seems like, I remember last time when they had someone in the broadcast. I forgot which game it was, but it was the Cincinnati game where they had Mark Albright on the broadcast, and Cincinnati, of course, score right as they finished the interview with Mark Albright, and they kind of jokingly said, yeah, you're not going anywhere, Mark Albright. You're basically our good luck charm. And I was hoping maybe this is the same case with Joe Cannon being on the broadcast, but no, it was not, because despite the fact that the Quakes were on the front foot early and Kikanovic had a chance to give the opening goal for the Quakes, but he hits that one wide, Vancouver was able to get the opening goal. And Joe Cannon, even though he was a guest, he actually did some good analysis of that goal, and it's actually Bruno Gasper, the one that scores to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. I never understand, is it Gasper or Gasper that's how you pronounce with the way that the Quakes announcers kind of pronounce it. They keep pronouncing it Gasper, and I've heard sometimes some announcers said Gasper and some says Gasper. I'm just going to go with Gasper for this. I'd go with whatever the announcer made. But he scored here to give Vancouver a 1-0 lead. And you can even say it was kind of against the run of play because, the Quakes were looking good to try to get that opening goal. Remedi quickly tried to respond, but he puts it wide from 20 yards out. But then in the 62nd minute, the Quakes do get the equalizer. And it's Benji Kikanovic scoring from Espinoza and Remedi. I've been very impressed with Benji Kikanovic this season, and I hope that he could maybe be the answer alongside with Ebobisse to replace Wando, in case if Wando indeed is going to hang up his boots after this season. But in the 65th minute, Marie did shot one high from long range before Mark Sinkowski was able to deny Dahome in the 66th minute. Kikanovic then had another chance at the 75th minute, but he heads that one wide, and as the time winds down, you can see the Quakes were showing that desperation, knowing that they need to win this game to keep their playoff hope. They need to try to push to try to get the winning goal. Ebobisse did try to do so, but he puts it wide on the header in the 85th minute before Wando. Yeah, this is one that he clearly should have scored, as he missed that one from 3 yards out. And this is also not the first time I've seen where there's late games where the Quakes had a big opportunity to score and they aren't able to capitalize. And whenever that happens, I just feel like, yeah, that was the chance for the Quakes to win the game, and that they're not going to get any chance after that. And this was kind of the case once again, where that was the chance for them to get that crucial second goal to win this one. But in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 7 that Vancouver has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 9 shots off target compared to 2 that Vancouver has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Vancouver, or 2 shots that Vancouver has in this one. And possession-wise, the Quakes had more of the possession, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that the Quakes, or that the Whitecaps has in this game. But like I said, this pretty much just is the final nail in the coffin. Well, I wouldn't say the final nail in the coffin. The final nail in the coffin is when the Quakes gets eliminated, but it's pretty close in that where, yeah, this was an absolute must-win for them. And the fact that they didn't get it, it's just another chapter of the disappointment of the Quakes. And that, I knew that this team was kind of done when they lost to LAFC a couple weeks ago, but I was maybe trying to be a little bit optimistic, and maybe they get that win to maybe get maybe make it interesting late, and it seems like that's not going to happen with the way that I think the next game, if they do indeed do not win that next game against the Timbers on the road, which, yeah, that's not going to be a win, knowing the fact that the Quakes never beat the Timbers on the road. Yeah, this team is going to be officially eliminated, and there's definitely going to be some soul searching in the offseason, and also who exactly is going to be the new GM of this team. But for the Whitecaps, I guess it's a good point for them. I mean, they'll be a little bit disappointed they didn't get all 3 points to get themselves maybe closer to that 4th position, but they do have that crucial home game in the one against Minnesota, and yeah, that game, which is going to happen tomorrow at the time of this recording, that is going to be a big playoff six-pointer that we're going to see in the Western Conference. But now moving on into the last game on this board, and since I'm doing 13 games, this actually is not the last game that I'm going to be talking about, but this is the first of 2 Sunday games that I'm going to talk about, which is the Copa Tejas between Austin and the Houston Dynamo. And knowing the fact that all 3 Texas team has been eliminated, the Copa Tejas is really the last thing that all 3 of these teams have to play, and especially for both of these teams. And in the end, it's Austin, the one for the second time playing against the Dynamo at Q2 Stadium, able to come out victorious with a 2-1 victory. Now, GT had an early opportunity in the 4th minute, but he puts it wide from close range before a penalty was given to Austin as Dominguez was brought down in the box by Valentin, which in the 7th minute, Austin was able to take advantage of it, but not the way that you thought it would be, because Dominguez actually hits this one not only off the post, but hit it off both posts. So a typical double post kind of moment. If you're an SKC fan, you must have gone PTSD when you see that. But somehow, even when it got off to both posts, it hits off of Maric, and it kind of bounces off of him and goes into the back of the net. Now, originally they said Dominguez, of course, got the goal there, but I think they then later changed it to Maric scoring on goal, and rightfully so, because I've seen this before where the ball kind of hits off the post, and unfortunately when the goalkeeper kind of get in the way once it ricocheted back off the post, yeah, that was kind of the moment there, and of course it gave Austin a 1-0 lead. By the way, Adrian Healy was actually commentating this game, and I always love when Adrian Healy is commentating an ESPN game rather than John Champion. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Healy brings a little bit more kind of enthusiasm in his commentary style compared to John Champion and Taylor Twellman. But it was also kind of weird hearing Adrian Heath commentating this national television game. Consider he's also the main commentator for Austin FC when they do the regional game. But I think he also kind of made a mistake in these first 11 minutes where he thought Nelson was the one that was in goal there, but later he did kind of apologize to the viewer that, yeah, I forgot that, yeah, it wasn't Nelson in goal. It was actually Maric, the one that was in goal there. But either way, like I said, Austin was able to take a 1-0 lead. They mentioned that Houston was winless when they conceded the first goal, so it feels like if you're a Dynamo fan, you know that it's going to be an automatic L every time when they concede the first goal, and this was no exception to that. But they did have a chance to get the equalizer in the 17th minute when Dorsey hits it straight to Stuvert. Ruti then puts it wide in the front post. Houston was definitely pushing for the equalizer, but in the 35th minute, Austin almost doubled their lead as Maric absolutely robbed Gite, who was trying to aim at the upper 90 of a shot, but Maric just full stretch able to deny that. Quintero then puts it wide from 20 yards out on a free kick before, in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Austin would double their lead. And it's Chirusi, the one that scored from Alexander Ring to give Austin a 2-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now in the second half, it was almost 3-0, but Maric was able to deny Dominguez in their near post. Then he would deny Dominguez again in the 47th minute as Austin was pushing for a third. Maric then denied Ring in the 53rd minute before Dominguez had a chance to make it 3-0, and he thought he made it 3-0 if it wasn't for Tim Parker clearing this one off the line. Quintero then blasted wide from long range, and then in the 80th minute, Maric was able to deny Ring from 18 yards out as Houston was trying to get one back and try to set up a grandstand finish. Then Fagundes puts it high in the 83rd minute before Houston did eventually get one back late in the game, and it was actually an own goal by Cascante that unfortunately ruined the clean sheet for Austin in this one, but that's only the downside for them in this game, because in the end, they were able to win 2-1 in this Copa Tias match against the Houston Dynamo. Shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 15 that the Dynamo has, 8 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Dynamo has, 7 shots off target compared to 5 that the Dynamo has. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that the Dynamo has in this game. And with this win, Austin, of course, stays alive in the Copa Tias standings, and I think it's going to all comes down to that next game against FC Dallas for the crown of the Copa Tias trophy, because I think with this game, Houston has officially eliminated from Copa Tias contention. Even though I did kind of look at the standings, and it's kind of weird that the Copa Tias standings still shows that the Dynamo is ahead, even though on goal differential, it should be Dallas the one that is ahead, because even if they're tied at 8 points, it actually, I think they do go by goal differential. I might be completely wrong, but Dallas, I think has the better goal differential coming into that one. So yeah, that's what I said. The Dynamo are eliminated from contention, but for Austin, big opportunity in the next game. We're in a season where it seems like they might finish dead last this season in the Western Conference. At least they can get some silverware, and that's something that not a lot of team that finished dead last in the conference can really say that they still win a trophy, albeit it's a regional trophy and it's not kind of like an official silverware like a U.S. Open Cup, or maybe that's kind of like the only thing that a last place team could potentially win, because they can't go to the playoffs and win MLS Cup. Although, they could maybe even win CCL if they actually did well in the previous season, and then they just kind of suffer a complete collapse and still win the CCL trophy. But obviously that hasn't happened, because no MLS team has been able to win CCL this year. But that being said, I am now going to switch the board one more time and finally look at the last game that I'm going to be talking about off the weekend's action of match week number 32. Alright, so here we go. Final game to talk about of the weekend's action from match week number 32. And before I get to it, I want to congratulate the New England Revolution of winning the Supporters' Shield of 2021, as it was pretty much confirmed on Saturday that they of course won the Supporters' Shield after the Sounders lose to Sporting KC, which, anytime when a team, of course, win the Supporters' Shield and they're not playing a game, it kind of gets a little bit interesting to see how they celebrate. I guess maybe the players realize it, and I guess maybe they kind of celebrate. Well, actually, it's kind of weird, because, do you celebrate like maybe in the locker room, even though there's like no game that has happened, or maybe they're probably just celebrated in the hotel when they have to play against Orlando City. But that being said, I expect they're going to do the actual celebration when they do play against either Colorado next week, or they would, well, not next week, but in the middle of the week, or they'll celebrate it on the last day of the season. I'm assuming it's probably the last day of the season, because you don't want to celebrate a trophy presentation in the middle of the week. You want to celebrate during the weekends when everybody, of course, will show up in that game, and maybe even celebrate a historic season where they could potentially get the most point in MLS history. Though, in this game, they weren't able to tie the record that LAFC set after getting a 2-2 draw, but it's kind of impressive that they actually got a point out of this one, because, this was a game where Bruce Arena, knowing the fact that they won the Supporters' Shield, he kind of liked to rest his guys, which, I said before, where for Bruce Arena, I won't be surprised he won't actually think about resting his guy even when they won the Supporters' Shield, because they definitely want to get that record of getting the most points in a regular season in MLS history. But he did rest his guys in this game, and kind of Orlando took advantage of that until when Bruce Arena decided to bring in his big guns, and kind of shows why New England is a team that is going to be a force to be reckoned with once the playoffs start. Now, not much early in this game, though. The rain did eventually kind of picked up around Orlando, and it was really pouring down around the 20th minute mark. Bunbury drives one wide in the 22nd minute before DK had a header that goes straight to Matt Turner. Then Nani was able to score from Matinho and Urso, and for Turner, I thought that one was probably one that he could have saved. And this is the thing about Matt Turner I've talked about in recent games, where he has definitely not looked as sharp as he was in the beginning of the year. And that's not only a concern if you're a New England fan, but that is kind of maybe a concern if you're a U.S. men's national team fan. Consider Turner is a guy that seems to be getting the call to be between the stake. Although that being said, I think maybe with Greg Berhalter seeing these performances, maybe this is where he decided that, yeah, I'm going to put Zach Steffen back in goal, knowing the fact that Turner might not be in the best of the form right now in the club level. Now, in the second half, this is when New England started to bring in their big guns as Russo Reyes decided to summon both Buxa and Hill into the starting 11. They eventually would actually bring in more of their starting 11 late in the second half. But in the 48th minute, Tristanson fired one into the stands before there was a penalty given to Orlando after De La Garza brought down Nani in the box, which DK was able to convert to make it 2-0 in favor of Orlando. You know, I'm not sure if Nani even thought about maybe he should take the penalty because, you know, he wants that foul, but I'm pretty sure pretty much the Orlando City fans are basically shouting that no, don't take the ball, Nani. We know you're trying to score you might have won the penalty, but knowing how bad you've been from the spot, you are not taking a penalty. And I think maybe DK kind of told him that too, like, look, I know you're the captain, I know you won the penalty, but judging by how bad you are from the spot, and we're only up 1-0, I got this. I'll just put. I guarantee I'll put this one away and make it 2-0, and that's exactly what he did to make it 2-0 in favor of Orlando City. Now it was almost 3-0 when Mueller's shot took a redirection, but that one goes straight to Turner before Mueller had a big opportunity as he missed an empty net from close range in the 57th minute. But Orlando was trying to push for a third goal and try to get this game out of hand. But like I said, this is around, I think, the 66th minute mark. That's when we saw more of the New England starter like Gustavo Bo and Tajon Buchanan was summoned. And once New England started to have that star-studded attack, that's when I knew Orlando was going to be in trouble, because in the 81st minute, Buxa would score from Bo to make it 2-1 in favor of New England. And as soon as that goal went in, I had a feeling New England was going to come back, because this is what they do. This is a team that doesn't lose very often, and they always find a way to get themselves a win or able to rescue themselves a draw late in games. Buchanan had a chance in the 82nd minute, but he puts it wide from close range before Galese was able to deny Jones in the 86th minute. Oh, that was actually a great save from Galese, denying DeJuan Jones from close range. But you can clearly see the refs were pushing for the late equalizer, and they would get the late equalizer in the second minute of stoppage time. And it's Buxa again scoring from Jones and Hill to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Buxa almost made it 3-2 and complete a miraculous comeback for New England, but he hits the side netting as he was trying to go for the hat trick in the 4th minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, New England able to rescue themselves a draw, and that in the next game against Colorado, they have a chance to not only get another win at home, but also potentially break the record for the most point in the regular season in MLS, as they could have a chance to go to 73 points. Shots to this one, 15 shots per the 13 that New England has, 5 shots on goal per the 3 that New England has, 5 shots off target per the 7 that New England has, 5 shots that was blocked per the 3 that New England has, and possession-wise, Orlando had the better of the opportunity, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that New England has in this game. But either way, that is pretty much it for the review of all these games. And like I said, I do apologize that this was late. You know, I had a lot of things to do during the latter part of this vacation, and in some way, I was actually thinking about doing the review once I get back home, because I do feel a little bit sick, and also hoping when I do get to the airport, and I'm just hoping they don't even take my temperature, because I mean, it's not that I'm feeling hot, but it's just that I feel like I'm kind of having a bit of a nasty cough. Oh, well, I wouldn't say a nasty cough, but a little bit of a cough, and also I think I also had a bit of a sore throat from yesterday, but that seems like it has kind of fixed as I woke up this morning. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and like I said, later tonight when that game between LAFC versus the Portland Timbers is going to finish, I will of course do a review of that game, though I'll probably have to wait for the condensed highlights, because again, I'm not going to watch the full game because my flight doesn't land until 8 o'clock, and by then I think the first half is already going to be over. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.